Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. So we'll be making these two-in-one sleeves. Okay, the first part is a pencil sleeve and the other one is a structure sleeve. So our focus will be on the structure sleeve because I already have a tutorial on my channel on how to make a basic sleeve, so I'll leave the link below. Okay, so now for the structure sleeve, okay, the measurement I'm using is the bicep depth of 3 inches and bicep circumference of 16 inches. So I'm gonna rule a line here. That will be my start point. Okay, I'll rule a line here, and then from that line I'm measuring downwards with 3 inches. Now because we are not working with the normal circumference, okay, so we won't have to go so deep because already this is gonna be it's gonna be like a double of a normal sleeve. So with this 3 inches being my depth, my bicep circumference is 16, so I'm gonna double that. So because I've made this unfold, so I'll measure out 16 inches on my bicep length, and I can go ahead and add 1 inch for the same allowance. I'll extend this line all the way to the allowance, and I'll measure the length of, I want to make it 12 inches. Okay, so with the same allowance I'll be adding 1 inch to make it 13. So I'll just extend it. I'm extending the lines and my hem allowance. Okay, so now from the bicep circumference here, I'm just taking it down straight. You can do well to just take it up with 1 inch just to give it some balance. Okay, to give it some balance, and that's it. That's how I'll be cutting it out. Now from this I'll just easily form a simple shape, ace shape, to meet my bicep circumference. Now with this, now we'll have little pleats at the midpoint here. So if you need to measure this, it will take care of my bicep, my armhole circumference, and even the little pleats. Whenever I'm drafting a sleeve, the armhole circumference is usually the half of my bust measurement. So for this, the bust measurement is 44. The half of it will be 22. So because I've cut this unfold, 22 now will mean 11 inches, and we still have 11 inches, and we still have some excess to do the tiny pleats. So the circumference, the armhole circumference, is usually the half of your bust circumference. With that, you will wear it with ease. Okay, so now we have this, and then I'll cut this out. So I'll go ahead and replicate this, meaning I'll be cutting another one of these. I'll cut the lining, and I'll be using paper stay as the interface. So here's that structure sleeve. I've added interface to just the fabric, and I cut the lining as well. You know, I cut the lining the same thing. So now we'll have to sew this. Okay, so sewing it, first of all I'll need to get the midpoint on the fabric and on the lining. Okay, and ensure that the midpoint of the main fabric and the lining meets, and then you pin it. And taking it to the machine now, I'll use 1/2 inch to sew. Okay, use 1/2 inch to sew, and I'll sew it and stop about 1 inch before the edge, you know, when we'll have the side seam. So I'll stop it like so, and then turn it to this side and use 1/2 inch as well and sew it to the other end, stopping it 1 inch, you know, before where we'll have the side seam, just like I did on the other side. Okay, so now to sew, I'll use 1/2 inch, or you can use 1 inch. I'll use 1 inch to sew it, as the side seam for the sleeve. So I'm using 1 inch to sew it all the way from the arm cuff to the hem of the sleeve. So when I'm done with that, I'll bring the lining this way. Okay, I'll bring it this way and make sure that it gets to where I have the seam. Okay, and then mark that place, mark that point like this, and then I'm bringing this one. I like to do it this way so to have it relaxed. Okay, so now I'll mark this point as well, and then I'll bring the 2 points together and sew it all the way up using the seam allowance that I have there. When I'm done with that, because the seam allowance I have here is more than 1 inch, I'll just fold it in like this, like triangle. I'll fold it this way. Okay, and then sew the opening that I have left there. I'll top stitch this, but before I do that, I'll need to iron this open with the lining and then top stitch it. When I'm top stitching it, I'll top stitch on the lining very close to the seam that I have there at the hem. I'll top stitch it all the way around and then give it a good press. So far this is what we have. Okay, I've top stitched and I gave it a good press. So if you have excess line, you can just trim this out so everything will be even. And then I'll go ahead now and close this part. I'll just sew it together like this. So now to make the double sleeves, you will have to bring in the pencil part of the sleeve. This is the basic sleeve. I have a tutorial on this. I will leave the link in the description box. So the next thing you have to do is to confirm the armhole circumference, if this will go in comfortably. So now you bring in the dress and you will measure around the armhole circumference like this. And I have 20 inches here. I have 20 inches. So I'll measure this round because this will have to go round the circumference. But this one's, this very other structure sleeve, we have excess here that of course it will go around it. So you measure this round to ensure that you have exact circumference that will go around the armhole without stress. So we have 20 inches and it's the same thing with the armhole circumference. So we can go ahead now and notch the midpoint of this. Okay. Notching the midpoint of the basic sleeve, you will notch the midpoint of the structure sleeve as well as the armhole circumference on the dress. Okay, you will notch it as well. Now for this basic sleeve, when you look at it this way, you have a 1/2 inch inward, so it means this will go in to the left side of the dress. So this is the left side, so this is where it will go in. So now from the midpoint that we notch on the basic sleeve, we take it to the midpoint that we have on the structure sleeve. For the structure sleeve, you can choose to use the hard gum stay, depends on what effect you want to have. So I'll pin this here and make sure you go in this way like so, and then I'll bring the seam to meet the seam of the structure sleeve. So I'll pin it Now before I insert it to the dress, I will ensure that I pleat out all the excess I have on the structure sleeve, on the basic sleeve. So you will choose how you will make your pleats. You can choose to do gathers and you can choose to do pleat. So I'll just pleat it like this. And ensure that you're working with your pin well, so you ensure that you won't pin any other part of it to the basic sleeve. So you pleat, do your first pleat and pin it. And then you straighten it this way and do your second pleat. Like I said, you can choose to do gathers, but I think doing the tiny pleat is easier for me. So I still have excess here, so I'll do the pleat. Okay, so we have an even circumference here, which is relaxed. So I just did 3 pleats and it came out. So now I'll do the same thing on this side. Okay. So I have it all pleated on the basic sleeve now. So now I'll take the midpoint. Note where we notch for the midpoint. I still have the pin here. So I'll take it to the left armhole and I'll bring it this way. The notch will have to align, and then I'll bring out the pin and pin it like this. And pin it this way. Then I'll take the seam. I'll bring the seam here and I'll take it to the seam of the armhole and make sure they align, and then bring out the pin and pin it this way. So now taking it to the machine, this is what I'll do. It's just to simply, because already we've matched the circumference of the armhole and the circumference of the sleeve, so we'll just have to sew it all round. Now ensure that if it will be easy for you, you can just sew this down on the sleeve before you now insert it on the armhole. Okay, just sew this down together and then we'll sew it all round like this.